Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of I don't know what I'm going to call this podcast yet. I'm your host, Nicholas Thumb, and in this episode, I'm just going to give you a little intro to what this show is about, why I'm making it, and how it all came about. So, the purpose of this show is to work on understanding everything and create a kind of unified theory of consciousness, combining aspects of science, be it physics, different branches of mathematics like geometry, the physical aspects of science like biology and chemistry, as well as more humanitarian aspects of study like philosophy and psychology, as well as various spiritual traditions, esoteric practices, and religious traditions, and see how there are certain through lines or mirrored concepts, and how one of these ways of understanding is quantifiable while the other one is qualitative, and how these are two different modes of understanding reality that the self, the observer, uses to understand the internal and external, and vice versa, and how this duality actually comes about as consciousness observes itself. So, how this calling, I guess, came about is I had a near death experience. I was sitting on my bed smoking pot, and it was a cart, it wasn't just a plant. So, it's really hard on the circulatory system, and I've been abusing it for years as a subconscious coping mechanism. And eventually, my heart just couldn't take it anymore. It gave out, and I got taken out, essentially. I just had this incredibly strong sense of getting lifted up. And I look down and I see this black hole. And I go, oh, that's the cycle of reincarnation of samsara. Not, oh, what is that? But an, oh, I forgot. And I look up and I see this bright light. And I think, Buddha, is that you? And as soon as I say that, my point of view goes from first person to third person, because I'm no longer identified with the body and mind as the self, but the observer, the soul. And this bright light is actually a burning fire in this being's chest. It's a violet flame that is never ending, it's self perpetuating. And I think, oh, this is the unconditional love of God. And it's not just this one being, there's 5 of them. They're in a semicircle, and they're sitting on these thrones, but they're also lotuses in chairs. They're essentially the higher reality or higher dimensional concept of a chair, a la Plato's theory of forms, but I'll get into that in another episode. And these beings are like if you took the convection currents off of asphalt on a hot day and formed them into the shape of a humanoid silhouette. And these beings are like if you took the convection currents off of asphalt on a hot day and shaped them into a humanoid silhouette. There's no actual physical body. The same for me. I just don't have the burning fire in my chest, and they're massive. They're, from my perspective, 60, 100, 200 feet larger than me. They're essentially larger expressions of consciousness, and you can think of it like a fractal pattern. For the infinite strain back, we as souls are smaller expressions of a larger pattern, and these beings are larger expressions of that same pattern. But anyways, they asked me, do you wish to leave? And I responded with, oh goodness no, I still have so much left to do. And when I said that, it wasn't like I want to go back and see my family. It wasn't that at all. It was on a soul level, I still had lessons to learn, and I wanted to forever teach and to forever learn. And when I gave my answer, they put me back down. Then I woke up going, because I'm fairly certain I stopped breathing at that point, and then I got up and I got a book I had been reading recently, The Heart of the Buddha's Teachings, and it was written by the Bodhisattva Thich Nhat Hanh. So I bowed to the image of Thich Nhat Hanh on the back 3 times, and when I got to the 3rd bow, I had this incredibly intense vision of me, and then 2 other versions of me on my left and right, and then 2 more behind them, and then 2 more behind them, and then going back to 1 more. So we were in a circle, essentially, all with our backs towards each other. And on that 3rd bow, I shot up, like just going up a column, and it was just a huge column of me. Now this ties into my metaphysics in future episodes, but we can see this same type of experience shown in Buddhist and also some Hindu iconography, where they have those multiple heads coming up out of the crown of the Buddhist statue, or the multiple limbs. This a similar kind of kaleidoscopic artistic expression of this same experience. And then I kowtowed to the image of the Buddha on the front, and then I went to my bathroom and I did something rather strange, at least when you first hear about it. And I went to my bathroom and closed my eyes, and I kissed the mirror, or more accurately, my reflection in the mirror. And for 7 minutes, I kept my eyes closed because I knew if I opened them, I would miss something. I had to be at a certain moment internally. And after 7 minutes, I pulled back and I opened my eyes. And what was staring back at me wasn't me in the normal sense. It was unconditional love. And I thought, what have I ever done to be unworthy of the love of God? And this is similar to the story in the Bible of Jacob and Esau. If you're not too familiar with it, I won't go into too much detail, but essentially it's a story of 2 brothers where one wrongs the other one, and the other one comes back, and the one who wronged him thinks my brother's going to kill me. And when he finally meets him, he sees unconditional love. And finally, he says, I saw the face of God in my brother, because that's what God is. God is an expression of unconditional love. So I have essentially, in the moment where I'm kissing my reflection and then finally looking and opening my eyes, I'm using this bathroom mirror as a physical representation of the subconscious, because the subconscious is often allegorically or metaphorically expressed as a lake or a mirror. And what happens when you put a mirror in front of another mirror, you get that kind of tunnel effect, that infinite fractal. And at that point, I'd gone through a near-death experience, entering a temporary state of what's known as Christ consciousness, where you fully detach from your ego. It's a temporary state of consciousness to experience intense spiritual experiences of self-transcendence, but you're not meant to stay there. You're not meant to get stuck there, but it can happen sometimes. And then I went and unintentionally had this kind of fractal-like experience with the mirror. And after that, I just realized that everything up into that point in my life had led me to that exact moment. My past of being a hardcore atheist, because I had had a bad experience with the church, but my years of studying philosophy and psychology, because I wanted to know why humans are the way they are, my desire for wanting to learn and study for decades without an actual answer, and then eventually going to a kind of agnostic, well, there has to be something, and all the hardship in my life up until that point had led me to that exact moment. And then after that, I prayed to God and I said, hey, I want to be able to be a person that can be seen for all that I am, and be surrounded by people that can see me for all that I am, and I in turn can see them, and we in turn inspire each other to be the best versions of ourselves. And in hindsight, I didn't really take into account that I was essentially saying, I want to see me, a infinite expression, a reflection of infinity, to see myself for all that I am, and in turn other people. That's quite a foolhardy ask, but that's what this whole show's going to be about, is just combining science, the humanities, and spirituality and religion into a unified framework of consciousness after I felt this calling and deep love for knowledge. I imagine I'll have guests on the show, and we'll just, see where it goes from here. But until then, I'm your host, Nicholas Thumb, and I'll see you in the next episode.